So when the Brandon Angel announcement came down that Oregon had landed the former Stanford forward for his fifth and final year of eligibility, I was excited. The next thought I did have, though, was, what does that mean for KJ Evans? This is a 6'8 forward who frankly plays the way KJ Evans is capable of playing if he reaches his ceiling with the Ducks, which I think he can. Evans' potential is immense. You look at the way that Angel scores, it's around the basket and from beyond the arc. And Angel's a better three-point shooter than Evans by a pretty good amount at this point in their careers. That's where Evans can really improve the most, frankly. But Evans has got mid-range game. I think he can create his own shot a little bit better. They're very similar players. So when it was announced that KJ Evans would be returning for his sophomore season with the Ducks, my excitement level really, really went up. This is an NCAA tournament team. There is no, well, what about this? Well, what? Nope. This is a tournament team. They were last year, and they are reloading this year in a major, major way. And before I dive into Evans even heavier, this has to be brought up. And I got to tell you, if this comes to fruition, I would be jumping for joy, because for weeks here on the show, I have been talking about how Oregon needs to go find another big to replace N'Faly Dante because he's out of eligibility. Well, the birds have been chirping, or could you say the ducks have been quacking, and James Crepea officially tweeted this out. I think Matt Prame has hinted at this as well. I don't know. He was being a little mysterious about it, but Crepea tweeted out that Oregon is trying to get another year of eligibility for N'Faly Dante. This is not, maybe they're doing this. Could they do that? This is a theory. This is not April podcast speculation here. This is something that Oregon is trying to do. Now, I want him to get Umar Ballo. He went to Indiana instead, transferring from Arizona. Why? Because I thought he was the closest thing to N'Faly Dante Oregon could find. A big, hulking presence in the middle who produces at both ends of the floor and has got a lot of experience. If Oregon brings back Dante, I would say preseason top 25 are where my expectations would be. I don't know the extent extent is not the right word. I don't know enough right now about the other Big Ten teams and what their offseason moves have been to understand where Oregon would fit into that calculation. But if Oregon's front court next year has 5 guys in it that can play, you would have Brandon Angel from Stanford, KJ Evans, Ibrahima Traore, who's the true freshman coming in, who's a 6'8 center and could just, be kind of a minutes guy here or there. Nate Biddle and N'Faly Dante, that front court is stupidly loaded. That would even be able to survive Oregon's level of injuries with the front court, which, as we all know, has been pretty ridiculously abundant. So if Dante gets another year, I mean, that would solve just about everything. That would be probably the last move that Oregon makes in the offseason, because that would essentially be getting an addition, right? I had no doubts that Cario Oquendo was going to leave. Thought he might have been out of eligibility, but I think he got another year as a grad transfer, and he'll go somewhere else. Okay, that figures. Brandon Rigsby leaves. Would have liked to have kept him around, but understand why he decided to leave. He can find a bigger role for himself elsewhere after a couple of years with the Ducks. But this void at starting center has been a gaping need. And if N'Faly Dante comes back, you fill the need. And I mean, look at what that guy did over the last couple of weeks. He and Jermaine Couisnard were basically a 2-man wrecking crew that propelled Oregon to the round of 32 and should have been to the Sweet 16. If Oregon gets one stop, or if Dante hits a free throw or two, Oregon's in the Sweet 16, and who knows what happens from there. They could have been this year's NC State. Unfortunately, they weren't. Them's the breaks in the NCAA tournament. But, man, I don't know. Now, this is founded upon Dante having battled injuries throughout his career, and they're retroactively trying to apply a medical redshirt to, I think it's his freshman season or his redshirt freshman season, one of the years where he barely played, which has been, unfortunately, several years for him. But we saw what kind of player he is when healthy. We know what kind of player he is when healthy. He's a first-team All-Pac-12 guy. He's just a freak of nature athletically and affects the game in so many ways. I would be over the moon if that happened. So no guarantee that that's going to happen, by the way. It's just that they're officially making an effort to bring him back, to get him another year. That would be cool. And one of the reasons it would be cool is because KJ Evans will be a part of this front court. So I think that bringing in Brandon Angel is a tremendous opportunity for KJ Evans, because Evans, I think, can be better than Angel overall because he's a little bit more skilled. But the way that Angel plays and the way that he scores in the low post area, I think is, an area where Evans can improve. But mostly, Evans just needs to work on his shot. And I think it's easy to forget with this past Oregon basketball season that there was a stretch when neither Dante nor Nate Biddle were healthy, and KJ Evans was basically ending games as the 5. They start Mo Diawara, to match up against the other big. But then when it was a crunch time, KJ Evans was on the floor as Oregon's sole big. And guess what? He was great. He was great. KJ Evans had 36 blocks in 36 games this year. That includes when Dante was there. So I think that his potential at both ends of the floor is just immense. And now on the flip side of the coin, it could be tougher for Evans to make that big sophomore year leap with so many bodies in the front court and how many touches that'll, draw away from him compared to what would happen if, none of those, or not none, but if only a couple of those guys were there and it was more KJ Evans dependent. But I think it's in the best interest of the team for it not to be entirely KJ Evans dependent, for him to take a bigger role. For him, the biggest thing he's got to do to up his scoring, he's about 7 points a game this year, shoot it better from 3. He was 28%. And that's a guy who, I think if you look at his high school numbers, was a much better shooter than that. And, first year adapting to the college game and everything, if he ups his 3-point percentage and is able to shoot just in the low to mid 30s, it doesn't need to be a 38-40% guy. Just shoot like 33-34% from distance. I think you will see his scoring take an uptick, and it'll be such a boon to Oregon's offense as well. And the other thing I like about Angel is he's a guy that can shoot. 6'8", and you give him the ball in a catch and shoot, hit the 3-pointers at just under 45% last year, which is a ridiculously high clip. Ridiculously high clip. So, look, if Dante doesn't come back, the world is not over, and it's still an NCAA tournament team. That's still the expectation. But if Dante returns, and you've got, I think Traore would probably struggle to see the floor in his true freshman year. If you had a rotation in the front court that was Angel, Evans as your 4s, and, you can kind of rotate them to play at the wing or small ball 5 or whatever, and then you had Dante and Biddle as your 5s, dude, that might be the best front court in the Big Ten. So I think it'd be massive. It's huge that Evans is back. I was legitimately worried because he said he didn't know, wasn't worried at the time, but when they added Angel, a 6'8" guy who's going to come in not to play, 5 to 10 minutes a game, I thought to myself, what does that mean for KJ Evans? Is he going to stick around? Well, he is sticking around, and this is a really talented Oregon team. And if you add, last year's core minus Jermaine Kuznar, but plus Brandon Angel and Nate Biddle, that's an NCAA tournament team, and you get into March, anything could happen. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.